Hello chess players, welcome to the next lesson of this practical endgames. We are continuing our passed pawns theme, and in this lesson we're gonna be looking at outside passed pawn continuing, but with very interesting model games, how super strong players use the outside passed pawn to win their games. But first, let's check the homework from the previous lesson. So this was white to play. Did you find the win? The correct move is b5, of course. We have to push the potential passer. But after bishop c7, what to do now? b6 is the correct move. If you played a6, then it's only gonna be a draw. This is well-known opposite color bishops, so we have to be very careful that opponent doesn't block us. And for example, maybe king f6, he's gonna block with a king this side, and you see bishop going to b6, and it's just totally draw after that. So b6, we have to go for a breakthrough, but our idea is of course not to take back, but to create an outside passed pawn this way. So we're using kind of even a breakthrough method we're gonna see in future lessons. So bishop has to come back, and now a simple plan for white. They just gonna move the bishop out of the way, and you see the arrows already at the plan. We're gonna split their defense in two. Our king is going to support the a passer, and we have another outside passer. This is the g pawn. So we're gonna just roll the king up. Yeah, for the moment black stopped us, but their defense is gonna be split. Yeah, we're just following with the king for a bit, and the other pawn starts his march. So king has to come back. Yeah, the bishop has to stay there. King has to come back, and we use the outside passer. Yeah, we have two of them to distract the king, and finally our king is going through. And the problem is, yeah, if somehow black would able to sack bishop for this pawn, it would be a draw because there is a wrong corner. Yeah, bishop is on light squares. But the problem is this pawn is blocked, so black in no way can even sacrifice the bishop. We're gonna go to b7 and threaten the bishop, so he will have to go out, and that's how we win. Okay, let's start our lesson with the first example. This was from the game Fischer Larsen 1971. Black just took this pawn, and now white started pushing his outside passer. So this is a bishop endgame with the outside pass pawn, and here is the moment for you to think, how should white play next? A couple moves are good, but one of them stands out. So king c4 would be good, yeah, going to support the pawn, but Fischer calculated that this move wins, yeah, transposing into a pawn endgame. If black takes the bishop into a winning pawn endgame, because we'll have an outside pass pawn. In the game, black took the bishop, but bishop a3, yeah, if they don't exchange, I would expect this move maybe. Then we just push the pawn, and it's unstoppable. Yeah, after this you could even play bishop e5, bishop e7, all with tempos. Yeah, a7, and we're gonna win with a piece up. So in the game they took, but now it's a pawn endgame with an outside passer. It doesn't matter, the pawns are equal in units, yeah, but outside pass pawn decides. So king is heading to the center and the king side. Black for a moment stops us, but time to use the magnet. Yeah, this pawn is gonna attract the king or bait. Yeah, we push it, and we push it again. King has to stop it, and in the meantime we get in to the black pawns. And yeah, for example, here we get in, and after this move black resigned in the game, because what is happening, white is just taking, yeah, we'll have one pawn, which will be enough, but we're taking the rest of the pawns. So nice ending by Fischer. Next game. And here we have Schlecter versus Tartakower. Very old game, 1907. Here, maybe I'll ask you with black first question, because actually black made a big mistake with the first move. So what would you play with black not to lose the game, yeah, to make a draw? And the correct move is king f8. Would make a draw actually, because we're just, don't touch these pawns. We're just moving the king closer to the center and trying to hold here, because white has a little space advantage. So but we should be able to hold with black. In the game, g5 was a very tempting move to kind of, black was thinking to gain some entry squares for the king perhaps, but this was really bad. Why? Because white has a potential now, yeah, 2 versus 1 here. So a potential to create a passer, as we know. So how does white exploit this? How would you start here? King f3 is a good move. First bring up the king, yeah, don't allow black to get in with the king like that. Go king g4, prevents king f5, and next move is we are creating a passer, g3 h4. So the game continued f5, but it doesn't help because g3 key move. Now h4 will create an outside pass pawn. Yeah, outside pass pawn differs from the simple general pass pawn in such a way that it's further away. So a5, yeah, if king e5 we just take, of course, a5. So black is trying to wait a bit, but it won't help. Here is the bait created, and white makes a couple of kind of reserve moves, but it won't matter because now this pawn is used as a bait, as a distraction, and we distract the king, similar to last game. And yeah, king f5, our king is much closer to the pawns, and we're just gonna do this, yeah, take, go here, and take the rest of the pawns. The next game is played by world champion Alekhine versus Andersen, 1933. Here we have white pieces. Despite the material balance, yeah, everything is equal for the moment. White is clearly better because thanks to his potential outside pass pawn situation, yeah, 2 versus 1 here. So white started a4 already, looking to create a passer, and as we know, knight endgames are very similar to pawn endgames, this typical principle. So black tried knight c7, and he is yeah, maybe had better moves, but king c3. White is continuing with a simple plan to create a pass pawn. g5, king b4 even. d5, knight f3, coming back, kind of just hanging around a bit. Knight d4 again, and this actually provoked black mistake. They played king d6, we'll soon see. King e7 was probably prolonging the fight. Then white can create a passer this way, a5 takes, and start pushing the b pawn with, of course, activating the king in support, and should win, I think. But black made the mistake faster, and now it's time for you, yeah, to decide what to do here. So what's the right move for white? And a good move is, as I said, knight endgames are similar to pawn endgame, so why not transpose to the pawn endgame with the outside pass pawn in mind? And here we go. Knight takes, has to take anyway, and we have outside passer now. and the game finished very fast. Yeah, b4, d4, just one final touch. We come back to stop this pawn, and next move we create outside passer. Yeah, and that will distract the king, and we know the procedure. We're gonna invade and take the rest of their pawns. So kind of simple game by Alekhine. Next game is played by Evans, American player, versus Reshevsky. Yeah, both American players, in 1969. This was an endgame. We're looking from the black side. So black started with f5. Yeah, they have for the moment pawn up. Yeah, this e3 pawn, but it's gonna be lost probably. But black already has a plan in mind what to do about it. So pawn is lost, and the question is, should we go for pawn endgame, rook takes, yeah, here, or should we stay in the rook endgame? So what do you think? Well, actually rook d4 is still a okay move. Yeah, this would be pawn up rook endgame, but it will be certainly much harder to win here. But black chose the simple way, going for pawn endgame. Why? Why is that? Because we have a potential for an outside pass pawn. Yeah, you see these 3 versus 2 on this side. Our pass pawn will be further away. Yeah, so that by definition will be the outside pass pawn compared to white's pass pawn. So it's gonna distract the white king. So white now played a sneaky move h4. Let's see other lines, yeah, how this game could go. If they just wait, we advance our king closer, and then a simple procedure, create the outside passer. If king c3 already, we can go here and win this way, easy. If in this position they wait somehow, we can also wait, yeah, use the reserve tempo moves, and finally at Zugzwang with this move. Yeah, white plays anywhere, we take the d4 pawn. So what else? Yeah, actually even without a4 this would win as well. Yeah, use the pawn as a distraction, but it's a race, but no need to kind of go into these risky lines. So in the game h4 was a very sneaky move, and now very careful what you play with black. Think about it and decide your next move. The correct one is h6. We keep the pawn structure intact. If you took the pawn, this is actually even lost for black. Now white is playing for a win. How? They are actually having a pass pawn because they're gonna use the d4 pawn as a bait for us. Yeah, because they're much faster with the king here on f4, and they're gonna distract us and use the active king to go for the h7 pawn, most likely. Yeah, so careful. Yeah, careful. You can really, even from winning positions, very easy to mess up these endgames. Another mistake would be to protect with the king. Again, we even lose here. So yeah, king d4, and they use now the same strategy against us to distract our king, and they will go after f5 pawn and then h7 pawn. So h6, let's keep the structure intact, don't let his king in. d5 was played in the game. If they wait around, we just advance the king. Now we can take because our king is much more active, and now we use the pawn as a bait. d5 was played, king e7, king d4, king d6. You see, but now our pawn, potential passer, is further away to distract this king. So something like this happened. a4, a5, use the reserve moves, but black even played g4 to kind of white is in a Zugzwang. Yeah, they have to move now, and by moving they drop the pawn. So they took the pawn, king c5, very nice move. If king c3, how do we win? f4. Yeah, but white is not in the square anymore after this. Yeah, square is too small. And king e3, that's why they went back. But now black calculated the race. The race is winning here. And yeah, we promote first. And then we win. Yeah, so that's how the game ended here. Okay, let's look at the next one. Here we have a famous game, Schmidt Kasparov 1986. And again, what's the first move? You might wanna pause the video and decide how Kasparov played here. What did he do? He has an outside passer, but there's a very active rook of white. What can we do about him? And the right move was exchange the rooks, because we are threatening the knight. So rook exchange is forced, and by exchanging the rooks we get into the kind of Botvinnik rule when he said knight ending is in fact pawn ending. Yeah, because it's very similar. We have outside passer, so pawn endgame would be 1. So let's see how black converted this. Knight c4 coming back, push the pawn. White king is coming for help. We activate black king. So without the knights, of course, this would be a trivial win. And knight e3 was played. If knight a3, black would go to remove the blocker, yeah, to remove the a3 blocker like that. And knight e3 check, king got active, king d2 trying to come back. If knight c2, king invades through here. Knight f6, f4, knight e4 would be winning, because then it will follow with king b2, yeah, driving the knight out, and we win. Probably even we can distract the knight when he goes here. Yeah, it's a moment to sacrifice even. Need to calculate that. King d2, king e5, c2, knight d3, knight invades. For the moment it's good that we don't have any checks from this white knight. And knight e1, king b2, knight f3. Already you see black is operating on both sides of the board. Knight is chasing after the pawns. And we use, yeah, since white arrived with the king, not easy to push this pawn, but we use it as a magnet, yeah, as a distraction here. So black is kind of switching his play using the distraction pawn to the king side to attack that side of the board. Now king a3, yeah, before black enters, yeah, black is trying to enter f3. White is trying to exchange, or at least try to exchange as many pawns as he can, but yeah, if king a4, then just king invades and we take the f2 pawn. h5 was played, took the pawn, knight c3. If king a4, then king invades and white is not in time to come back. Now very nice move, knight h1, taking the pawn. If knight e4, this would be a huge blunder, because actually white makes a draw this way. And since we have only rook pawns, white will be in time to go to the f1 square and make a draw in the pawn endgame. So, okay, that was a nice line. Knight c3 in the game. Knight d5, knight g4, going after preventing counterplay first thing, yeah, with knight f6. So that's why knight g4 was played, but also going to collect the pawns. So knight e7. Finally, pawns are dropping. And knight e4. The rest is easy. Yeah, white is not only now taking the bait, so king is like miles away, and it's easy conversion now. Just try to trade the knight, and well, we don't even need to trade the knight. Yeah, the h pawn will be rolling next if knight g2, for example. Okay, and that's where white resigns. So very nice technical win by Kasparov. Next example is from the game Larsen, Gligoric. Two famous player, very old game, 1956. And here we have this position with white. Black just played queen f6, trying, yeah, because there was a major threat, queen f7. So they played queen f6 to defend that. And it's time for a moment to think. Pause the video if needed. Find a nice continuation for white. And the right idea is converting to a winning pawn endgame, surprisingly. So brilliant sacrifice, temporary sack like this. And this whole sequence converts to, as we'll see, winning pawn endgame. Takes, rook is pinned, yeah, so king has to take all forced moves. Big like vacuum cleaner, yeah, all pieces are off the board. King f2, and suddenly we are in the winning pawn endgame. Why? Because, as we see, we have 2 versus 1 on the side, and it's going to be further away, so outside pass pawn will be created, most likely. And white will put the king, of course, on e4. So that's how it went. Yeah, king e3, king d6, king e4, b4. Black played trying to kind of complicate things. If king e6, then the simple move is what? Yeah, how do we start creating a passer here? Remember the PPP rule, yeah? Perspective pass pawn. Yeah, we need to push which pawn? Of course c3, yeah? If you push b3, that would be a huge mistake. We're gonna end up in a deep freeze, yeah? This pawn holding the 2. So don't do that. Push the potential passer, yeah? This passer has no opponents on the c file, so it's the passer will become on the c file, yeah? b3 and c4. This didn't happen in the game though, because black played b4 first. Still c3, trying to create a passer, but black now played a tricky move b3. Yeah, if they take, then it's very easy. Outside pass pawn, we just win. We know this, yeah? We distract the king and take the rest of the pawns. But black played this sneaky move b3. So what now? Actually, this endgame was kind of complicated. Actually, when you'll see it, c4 was played, trying to still use now. Now we have actually, yeah, by definition, a outside passer. g6, black is waiting a bit. c5 is also winning, but white has to be super precise. In the game, g4 was still played, kind of waiting. Well, let's see this c5 line. King c5, king e5, h5, h4 now has to be the move. If king f6, it's gonna be even a draw, because it's a race. Yeah, it's a race. Our pawn is, black pawn is very advanced, yeah, on b3, so they are creating a queen, promoting to a queen real fast, and it's gonna be a draw like this. So in this position, h4 should be played. King c4, and now king e4 taking the opposition, and there is the win. It's kind of happened similar in the game, so we'll see. g6 in the game, g4 was played instead of immediate c5, which would also win. h5 takes the pawn, h4 reserve move, so black is kind of in a zugzwang, if king c6 was now a nice, interesting move. If king e6, we know the procedure. We push the passer and we distract the king, and it's gonna be not even a race. Yeah, we go for this. We go for that pawn, and we're gonna promote first. So king c6, kind of critical moment is arising here, and maybe actually that c5 earlier was even simpler when I think about it now, because now white needed to make a very precise move to win the game. So what do you think? This is a critical moment. What to play with white? The correct move is king f5, double exclam. Why this move? If, like, surprisingly, yeah, like many people probably will make this move, natural move, but it's only a draw. Why? Because black seen a race, and surprisingly, yeah, the race is equal, like this. Yeah, black calculated that we're queening on the same turn. So king e4 doesn't work, king f5, but why? And black didn't even take the pawn. Yeah, if he takes, I hope you see how we win. We go back, and it's opposition, and we kind of shoulder the king, as we'll see in the game, backwards. So king d4, king f4, opposition, king c5 was played. So if king c4, there is the procedure how we shoulder the king back. We go after the b3 pawn, and this should be well known, yeah, method to win the pawn. In the game, still black tried this move, but now white kind of made, yeah, that's why this game is kind of difficult, that white made the triangulation. Yeah, they went this, this, and back, and suddenly it's black to move in this position. Yeah, previously it was white to move, but now it's black to move, and they are now forced to take the pawn, otherwise we're gonna protect it. So, and finally, yeah, this happened. Yeah, and now white is faster, yeah, with the race. So here black resigned. I'll show you just how the game could end. Yeah, king c3, king g4. We're just much faster with the race, like this, and the queen is even controlling. Yeah, no h2, and the simple idea is just to block the pawn and win, like that. So very complicated. Yeah, even with the outside pass pawn, I think black did all his best, yeah, to complicate the game. Very nice try with this b3. Still white won. Okay, next game. Here we have bishop versus knight with the outside pass pawn, and as we know, knight is a terrible defender against the rook pawn. Yeah, because it's on the edge of the board, and as we know, knight is badly placed usually on the edge of the board because he has fewer moves. So the further the pawn goes, the stronger it gets. So a6 was the first move, g5, a7, now forcing the knight to go back, and king f2. Of course we don't have this move. Yeah, this would only make a draw. I hope you know this situation, because if we queen, yeah, we have suddenly the wrong corner. Yeah, we have rook pawn, but it's the wrong bishop corner, and it's only a draw. So don't fall for this. That's why king f2 was played. King is heading to the queen side to kick the knight away from the defending of a8. gf, king f3, king g5, bishop c4. And in this game we're gonna look at how bishop makes zugzwangs to the knight. Yeah, black will soon end up in the zugzwang. So knight c7, bishop c6, knight is limited already, kind of at zugzwang. Yeah, black has to give back the pawn, and because white has like many moves. Yeah, if h6, if they're waiting, we're waiting as well, and black will run out of moves eventually. So king g6, king f4, king f6, again waiting move. Yeah, white has these waiting moves with the bishop. King e3, heading where? Heading to b6 actually. Yeah, this way if allowed, or c6 or b6. Yeah, to the knight. King e5, king d3, splitting the defense, trying to split it, and king c4 going, king d7, king c5. You see, white king advances, some shuffling with the bishop, waiting moves. Again, white has all these waiting moves. f4 is forced to move, yeah, because black is running out of moves, losing a tempo, losing a waiting move again, and finally, can you see the final move? Yeah, it's gonna be a fatal zugzwang, after which black resigned. The move is just coming back with the bishop, and black is left without any moves. Yeah, he cannot move the knight because it's holding the passer, and cannot move the king because it's holding the knight. and they would have to sack the pawn like this, but the process will repeat, yeah, and then again they will fall into zugzwang. So very nice technique how to win with the outside passer in bishop versus knight endgame. Here we have a complex example from the game Bareev Chernin 1988. With the next sequences, white is getting into a queen endgame with the outside pass pawn. Let's see. Rooks got exchanged, knight got exchanged, and now a very important move, d5. Without this key move, the previous exchanges would not make sense, of course. So now white queen will be centralized on d4, and maybe we're gonna win the b4 pawn, as we see. So ed was played, and yeah, we go for the b4 pawn. Why? Because this is the right capture to create outside passer. So d5 pawn remains kind of a burden for black. So king f7, slow improvement of the queen, pushing the pawn, queen e8 going in, white improves the queen, f5, h4, and this is kind of almost a zugzwang even in the queen endgame. Can you believe that? So queen c4 was played. If queen c6 trying to exchange, of course we always have a check, and then we push the pawn like this. So queen c4 was played, queen b8 check, king c6, b5. Now unfortunately black cannot go to c5. Do you see why? There is a funny mate here, yeah, king queen f8. So after b5 they had to go back, king d7, queen b6, and that's how pawns got kind of liquidated here. But now we have an outside passer, so white uses that in the queen endgame. Yeah, we've seen different types of endgames with the outside passer, so white now is even winning the pawn, and with a strong pass pawn and perfectly centralized queen, the rest is easy. Yeah? So queen b, for such strong players, queen b4, queen e5 check, just slowly improving more the queen, assisting the pawn. And as we know, in the queen endgames, queens are very good companions to passers. King f6, and black even resigned here, not waiting for the white move. Let's see, for example, how the game may be ending. Yeah, like here black resigned, but I'll just show you one variation. Black is trying to give some perpetual, yeah, but it doesn't work because we are queening and the checks run out this way. Yeah, king h2, typical pattern against perpetual checks. Here we go here, and he has to waste time moving back the queen to f3, but now already we have two queens, so we're gonna mate here. Okay, next game. Here we have game Predojevic Oleksienko 2011. Yeah, so kind of newer game. And white to play here, so kind of several factors speak in white's favor. Superior minor piece, yeah, bishop versus knight, pawns on different flanks. Kind of faster maybe activation of the king. Nothing wrong with simple king d2, but what do you think white played here? White played bishop takes c6. Yeah, surprising move, because why do we undouble the pawns? But we undouble the pawns for a reason, because this pawn endgame will be a win because of the outside pass pawn. So king d2, king f7. White, I've seen this strategy. Yeah, if f5, king is just going faster, yeah, to b6. So black had to activate the king. King d3, king e7. Now g4 is a key move, and that speeds up the creation of the outside passer. Be careful, yeah, if you're going for a b6 pawn this way, suddenly black actually makes a draw, because they're creating their own passer, and that will distract our king. So g4 was played, king d6. If f5, then of course we push on and now 2 against 1. King d6, king d4, b5, h4, h6, and nice move, yeah? Just be careful, rule out any attempts for a breakthrough on this side, a3. And finally the game ended like this. e5 takes, takes, takes. But as you already know, this type of situation is winning because white has an outside passer. Yeah, it's gonna distract. Very important a3 move was played, so no nonsense, yeah, with b4 and or stuff like that. So after this, black resigned because his king will be distracted. All right. Next game. This was also newer game. It was against Sasikiran against Nisipeanu. It's 2 strong GMs, 2006. What should white do? What do you think? We have a kind of strange pawn structure on the king side. What should white play? And the right move is we go for endgame. We go for pawn endgame. Check, trying to win a7 pawn. Maybe actually black should have sacrificed and stayed lesser evil probably in the rook endgame. More chances maybe to make a draw. But they came back, but now white is just exchanging. Why? Because he's seen that he'll be creating an outside passer. King d6 was played. If king e6, then king f4. This, king d5. h3, yeah, we always start with a potential pass pawn, not g3. G3 would be very bad, yeah, because of g4, deep freeze again. So h3, of course, and g3 only then, yeah, and then we go h4. That's how we create passed pawns. So king d6, king f4, king d5. Black is staying around with the king, but if he started a race, yeah, going after this pawn, this race will be lost. How? h4, king b4, e4, takes, takes. Now if king a4, g4, white is much faster, he wins the race. So f5 may be tried, but then king a5. Here is the win. White is queening first, controlling long diagonal, yeah, so white wins the race. So king d5 in the game, h4, yeah, but it doesn't matter because eventually white will create the outside passer with the help of e4 move. Here we go, you see, white's formation is further away. That's the definition of an outside passer. King e6, h5. And of course, if takes, then it's a trivial win, as we know. If king f7, final kind of trick going on here. King g7, and now, yeah, this was the final trick. What do you think white should play? Yeah, careful here. We can even mess up the game big time here. So if you thought about king c6, you'll be actually losing the game. So you're falling for black final trick. Yeah, this would be f5, and suddenly after this, black is not taking on f5, he's taking on h5, and look at that. We are not even in. We could be in the square, yeah, we could be like this, but now black has a outside passer, yeah, and we lose. So so the right move was king e6, going closer to this king. We're using outside passer as a bait. Here black resigned. The following, yeah, could be the moves. Takes, and if they take on h5, then the winning move is this. Oh yeah, we are going through with tempos. So nice game. And the final position is your homework with black. Black to play. Use all the knowledge you gained from this lesson to win this game with black. Yeah, what do we need to do? We will see in the next lesson. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.